Hello and welcome to Freed Indeed Live. I am your host, Kevin J.N. Hughes, and I, thank you guys for your patience. I know that I'm sounding distracted lately, and the truth is that I am in a lot of pain. This morning I went to a chiropractor. We're working on this pulled muscle in my neck. And so I thank you guys for your patience. I want to continue, though, walking through the things that we need to cover on this channel. And I know there's a lot of people in my life, a lot of good people, wise people, who say that I need to take a break more. And I want you guys to know I am doing everything I can to rest. Um, but I also, I need to do this. I need to uh I need to keep doing the work that I can do. Um, just to keep myself sane, just to keep myself going. Um, so I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all the support that you guys have shown, and I just want you to know I am working on healing. I'm doing everything I can to heal, but I'm also pressing forward as best as I can. So let's continue our series going through the Royal Passion Bearers of Russia by their life and service put out by the St. Herman of Alaska Brotherhood. This is a wonderful and excellent book that explores the holy lives of my patron saint and his family. So we're going to continue. This is part 4 in our series, where we're going to be discussing the support that of the church and how Tsar Nicholas in his reign uplifted the church and was a great exemplary czar in this way. So let us begin. Tsar Nicholas, as always, I'm reading from The Royal Passion Bearers of Russia, Their Life and Service by the St. Herman of Alaska Brotherhood. I'm going to be inserting my thoughts as I see fit, but unless I am inserting something, everything is directly taken from this excellent work by the St. Herman of Alaska Brotherhood. Tsar Nicholas's sincere support for the Orthodox Church and encouragement for the veneration of its saints prepared the way for numerous glorifications, more than during the reign of any other Russian monarch. Saint Theodosius of Chernigov, Saint Isidore of Yuriev and his companions, Saint Seraphim of Sarov, Saint Anna of Kashin, Saint Euphrosyne of Polotsk, Saint Yosef of Belgorod, Saint Jermogen of Moscow, Saint Pitrium of Tambov, and Saint John of Tobolsk. In the cases of Saints Seraphim and Saint Iosif and John, it was the emperor himself who played the decisive role in bringing about their glorification. Additionally, Tsar Nicholas highly esteemed Saint John of Kronstadt, his own father's confessor and a staunch supporter of the monarchy, and upon Saint John's death in 1908, he commanded the entire country to pray for his soul's repose. The Tsar's support for the church was expressed in material ways as well. According to the archpriest Michael Polsky, in the person of the Emperor Tsar Nicholas II, the believers had the best and most worthy representative of the church, truly the most pious. He was referred to in church services. He was a true patron of the church and a solicitor of all her blessings. During the reign of Nicholas II, the church reached her fullest development and power. The number of churches increased by more than 10,000, and there were 57,000 churches by the end of the period. the number of monasteries increased by 250, bringing their total up to 1,025. Ancient churches were renovated, and the emperor himself took part in the laying of the first cornerstones and the coronation of many churches. He visited churches and monasteries in all parts of the country, venerating their saints. The emperor stressed the importance of educating the peasant children within the framework of the church and parish, and as a result, the number of parish schools grew to 37,000. I want to pause for a moment and um just note the immense piety, but also um this is what the church and state, this is how God desires the church and state to function, not as enemies completely separate from one another, but as uh as the twin-headed eagle. Yes, they have different domains, but the church and the state ought to function together, work together, and the state ought to be the greatest supporter of the church. And Tsar Nicholas is an exemplary monarch in this way. He's an exemplary leader in this way, showing us how to effectively have church and state work together in unison rather than compete with one another. Much of the funding for the new churches came from the state itself or from Tsar Nicholas's own private resources. Most of the churches constructed through the Tsar's direct involvement were built in the classic medieval style, which had also been favored by his father. This was a return to the authentic Russian tradition from which most of the previous sovereigns, beginning with Peter I, had deviated in favor of more Western styles. During Tsar Nicholas's reign, there was also a move to return to traditional forms of iconography and liturgical singing. Nicholas's deep religious feelings were also reflected in his desire. So we see that he was this great reformer in a way, bringing the church back in line with her founding, bringing the church back in line with the truths that she was teaching. See, the church had never fallen, but many of the monarchs had not lived up to their role as being as being the uh the emperors of the church, and they had unfortunately not lived up to that, and Tsar Nicholas reformed the monarchy, and in doing so was a much greater supporter of the church and her traditions. And in that he was able to help the church live up to her full potential in Russia. Nicholas's deep religious feelings were also reflected in his desire to bring the principles of Christianity to bear on his foreign policy. Beginning in 1898, he addressed the leaders of other European states with a proposal to call a conference aimed at discussing the preservation of peace and a limitation on armaments. The result of his strivings were the Hague Conventions of 1899 and 1907, which laid the groundwork for the later Geneva Convention. For his efforts, Tsar Nicholas was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1901. Although he was forced by circumstances to lead Russia's armed forces into two wars, the Russo-Japanese War and the First World War, he did so with great reluctance and pain of heart and tried in every way to avoid these conflicts, going to war only as a last resort. So we'll stop there this time because I like to keep these sessions as brief as possible, but also because I like to make sure that we are that we stop at these stopping points because I think it's very important that people recognize each of these fundamental aspects of Tsar Nicholas's life. So in this, we see his deep piety, and we see how his love of the Orthodox faith affected every aspect of his policies. And we also see how he was exemplary in showing us how to have church and state function together. This is something that is desperately needed in the United States today, because in the United States today, we are seeing the demonic fruit of the horrid doctrine of separation of church and state. The separationist doctrine has reached its final bitter conclusion and is being lived out in the United States in the most degenerate ways. And Tsar Nicholas is an exemplary model of what we need in order to bring the United States out of this darkness and into the light of our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you very much for watching. Please share this with your friends so that they too can be freed indeed.